Welcome back. And in this video, we review the 5 reasons to invest in mobile home parks and how they compare to owning apartment properties. And here they are: low competition, low turnover, low expenses. Notice anything here? Low. Recession resistant, and tax benefits. For an explanation of each one, we go back to a recent interview I did where we covered each of those 5 topics.
Parks have the biggest moat in the U.S. And if you've read anything about Warren Buffett, he always talks about having a moat. Well, there's no bigger moat than mobile home parks as a class. So that's one. They have low tenant turnover, very low. 3, low expenses, and low expenses means higher cash flow. 4, the recession-resistant part, which we just talked about a bit. And 5, the tax benefits. So those are the 5 big factors that make mobile home parks so attractive. When Warren Buffett talks about a moat, he's talking about how do you protect your business from competition. The bigger the moat, the less your business can get knocked out by other competition.
Right.
So and it's easy to understand in real estate. They're building thousands of apartment units. They're building millions of square feet of industrial.
Right.
They're building lots of single family homes. They're building everything. So,
especially in the U.S. where land is plentiful and you can just, everything's suburban anyway. There's not like a center to most cities. You can just extend it, 5-10 miles and just build a whole nother development. They did it all over Orange County. They're doing it all over. I've been to North Carolina. They just go 10 miles down the road and just build a whole nother complex of houses.
Yep. If you're in Phoenix or Las Vegas.
Right. Las Vegas, Phoenix, sure.
It's very easy to see that. It's an endless amount of desert. So you go to the edge of the desert. It's exactly the same as the rest of the town.
Build a new shopping center right.
So parks, the reason they have the biggest moat is cities hate parks. So there's no new parks being built. There's maybe 10 parks in 2021 that were built in the whole country. 10. Maybe
the whole
10.
U.S.
Maybe.
Wow.
Nothing gets built. But every year, hundreds of parks get demolished to be redeveloped into a higher and best use. They knock them out. Mobile home parks typically, obviously, they're single story. It's a big piece of land with mobile homes on it.
Right.
It's already zoned for housing. So the obvious thing is to knock it down and build houses, build condos, or build a mixed-use development, something like that. So they get torn down all the time, but no new ones get built.
What are the numbers on that low tenant turnover compared to traditional housing? And why is that so low?
Yeah. So the ideal mobile home park, the tenants own that home. Some parks, it's not that way. The tenants are renting the home, and the owner of the park, the owner of the land, owns those mobiles, and he rents them out, kind of like an apartment building.
Right.
What you want to do is convert that and have those tenants buy those homes and own them. So the tenant owns the mobile home. If the faucet leaks, then it's their home, they fix it. If the roof leaks, etc. So it costs at least $5,000 to move a mobile home. So in apartments, your average tenant is about 18 months. Your average tenant in a mobile home park is about 8 years.
Wow.
So
that's 5x, basically.
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
And in an apartment building, you have a 100-unit apartment building, a 20-unit apartment building. Typically, 30%, 35% are going to move out every year.
Yeah,
so
it's a rake.
It's a rake.
It's like a rake in poker, right? That money goes somewhere out of your pocket. It doesn't matter where it goes. It doesn't go to you.
The speed with which you can finish that turnover is part of the operational efficiency in an apartment property.
Right.
In a mobile home park, it's $5,000 at least to move that home. They're not going to move that home. They're going to sell it
right.
and maybe go somewhere else and buy a home, or they're not going to move. So the turnover is tremendously low. And obviously that's very attractive. The other sort of side story there is when you have tenants that stay for years, that creates a community. That creates
especially because it
a
is a
family.
community, because everyone could interact with everyone in the mobile home park and they all have something in common.
That's right. Whereas
Yeah.
the apartment, how many of you that live in homes know 4 or 5 neighbors on either side and across the street?
Right.
And if you live in an apartment, how many of you know even the names of the 2 people next to you,
Yeah, yeah.
above and below you? I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying that's just how it is, because it's such a transient type of living.
Right. People are
So-
there before they have kids, or they have one kid and then they get...
So the other thing I want to come back to, which we didn't talk about, is reduced expenses. The expenses on an apartment building, 45 to 50% of the gross income is very typical. On a mobile home park, 30%, 33%. So that's a huge difference. And the reason is the tenants, if they own their own homes, then anything that goes wrong with that home, they fix. So if you compare
That's amazing.
a 30-space mobile home park where the tenants own all the homes, and you look at a 30-unit apartment building, there's 10 times more maintenance on that 30-unit apartment building than on that mobile home. 10 times the number of things that can go wrong. So on the mobile home, you've got landscaping, you have your infrastructure, your gas, electric, water lines, sewer lines, which of course you have on every property, on every piece of real estate. And, that's about it. So there's just not much to do. So those expenses being so low, and the whole maintenance thing being scrubbed, being washed away, means that you don't have to have the staff, the maintenance people, the layers of management to oversee it that interrupt that cash flow, because so your end cash flow is much, much higher. Parks are very interesting because they are so recession resistant. It's the only asset class in commercial real estate that has not only outperformed everything, but has had no drop in what we call net operating income, or no drop in gross rental income. In fact, including the Great Recession, nothing happened. In COVID, the demand for parks, the rental growth, nothing changed. It was as if COVID skipped over it. And that was true in the Great Recession too. You all know in the Great Recession in 07, 08, and even during COVID, every asset class dropped in real estate. Everything plunged, especially 07, 08, and that took years. So the parks are recession resistant because they're affordable housing. In a downturn, so the person in the $1 million home goes to a $800,000 or $500,000 or sells and rents, and the whole market moves down. So at the bottom is the sea of people that need affordable housing. Well, under a mobile home park you're kind of homeless, right? If you can't afford to rent a mobile home park. So there is an endless supply of tenants for the parks. So the typical depreciation schedule on residential real estate is 27 and a half years.
Which means, just to clarify for people watching, means over 27 years you can write off the entirety of the property against your income. So basically you do 100 divided by 27, so it's like 3%, 3.2% per year you can write off against your property.
Yeah.
So if the property's $1 million, you write off $32,000 a year against your net income. That lowers your tax bracket.
The improved part of the property, not
Right.
not the land. On a mobile home park, the way you depreciate it, the average depreciation schedule is 17 or 18 or 19 years.
So it's almost double.
Instead of 27 and a half on residential. On commercial, it's 39 years.
And so it's more than double commercial. You can write
Right.
off twice as much against your income with depreciation on mobile homes.
So they're very tax efficient, and most people don't think that they are. And there's some other things you could do with mobile home parks depreciation wise, but let's just say in general, there's lots of shelter to shelter that cash flow, which means that cash flow can go into your pocket. You're not paying tax on it.
Yep. So I'd like to ask you about how the mobile home sector compares to other real estate sectors. And I know you have some data that you've found from an objective third party. They're not a mobile home company. They
Right.
are.
So Green Street is a pure research firm based in Newport Beach, California. All they do is track the commercial property sector. They don't broker, they don't sell security, they're not involved in that. So they have no bias toward one sector or another sector. They're just trying to figure out what's going on in the market, what's happening. And what they do is they track prices of all the sectors over many years. So they track it a couple times a year over decades. So the chart you're going to be looking at shows about 11 different sectors in commercial real estate. So you have houses and condos. Okay, that's its own arena. In the commercial sectors, you have apartment buildings, you have malls, retail, office, you have industrial, you have lodging, you have manufactured home park, mobile home parks, you have self-storage, student housing, etc. So when you look at the graph of that chart, you see the top line is, it says manufactured home, manufactured home, mobile home parks. And you can see how that is by far outstripped all the other sectors for quite a while.
Yeah, it's the last 7 years.
And so the reason for that is the cap rates in mobile home parks are higher than the other sectors. And of course, everybody's looking for yield now. If you have 10,000, 100,000, 10 million, they're looking, what do you do with your money? And they're looking for yield. So the big hedge funds, and there's just a huge amount of players coming into this space because the mobile home park arena has the highest cap rates, and it has all the other factors we talked about, which is ease of management, low risk, and it has depreciation and the moat. And so that's why you see this chart. That's why the growth is so astronomical.
Yeah, that's impressive.
So there you have it. Thank you for watching. Questions? Comments? Please call, text, or email me. I would love to hear your feedback. And please consider hitting that subscribe button. Thank you. Until next time.